It's finally happening. Sign these divorce papers right now, Serena. I want you out of my life. How could you sit there and lie about this pregnancy? I want a divorce now.
Oh my God, she knew everything.
You have ruined this family. How could you be so selfish?
Please, Mother, don't say that. I love him.
As per the court order, I must advise that any further escalation of this situation poses a direct risk to the health of both the mother and the unborn child.
Sign them, Serena. Sign them right now. Serena's mother-in-law's voice sliced through the dinner conversation like a blade. Around the table, 15 guests, their pastor, Judge Patterson, Thomas's colleagues, went silent. Serena stared down at the divorce papers Lillian Blake had just slapped onto the table, her 7-month pregnant belly pressed against the edge. Her hands trembled. "Why are you doing this now?" she whispered. "In front of everyone?" "Because you need to understand your place," Lillian hissed, leaning closer. "My son deserves better. Sign the papers and leave this family." 3 seats away, Serena's husband Thomas sat beside Julia, the woman his mother had chosen to replace her. He wouldn't even look at Serena. She felt her baby kick, as if sensing her mother was under attack. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. That's when Dr. Marcus Williams stood up. "Mrs. Blake," he said, his voice carrying unmistakable authority, "I cannot allow you to force this woman to sign anything." Lillian's head snapped toward him. "This is a private family matter." "No," he interrupted, pulling out a thick file. "This stopped being private the moment you endangered a patient's life. I have 7 months of documented medical evidence right here. Mrs. Serena Blake has suffered dangerously high blood pressure, severe anxiety, premature contractions, every single complication directly caused by severe emotional abuse in this household. As her physician, I am legally obligated to report this abuse to Family Services tonight." The room went dead silent. Lillian's face drained of color. Thomas dropped his wine glass. It shattered against the floor, red wine spreading like blood across the white carpet. And Serena? For the first time in 7 months, she felt something she hadn't felt since marrying into this family. Power. But to understand how one doctor's sentence destroyed the Blake family fortune, she said, her voice steady now, you need to know how I got here, because quiet doesn't mean weak, invisible doesn't mean powerless, and underestimating someone, that's the most dangerous mistake you can ever make. Her name was Serena Hale. 7 months ago, she'd woken the morning after her wedding in a small bedroom at the far end of the Blake mansion. Not the master bedroom. A servant's quarters. Lillian had appeared in the doorway. "This is where you'll stay until you prove you're worthy of being a Blake." She paused, her eyes cold. "Thomas agrees with me. If you truly love him, you'll accept this without complaint." Serena's marriage was over before it truly began. She and Thomas had had a whirlwind romance. He'd been charming, attentive, romantic. When he proposed after just 3 months, she'd believed he couldn't imagine life without her. What she didn't know was that Lillian had researched her father's company, Green Tech Solutions, worth millions in patents and contracts. What Lillian didn't bother checking was who actually owned it after Serena's father died. Those first weeks, Serena tried desperately to be the perfect daughter-in-law. She woke at 5 a.m. every morning to prepare Thomas's breakfast exactly right. Eggs over easy. Toast buttered on one side, coffee with 2 sugars. But Thomas barely acknowledged her, and Lillian inspected everything like a drill sergeant. "The eggs are too runny, Serena. Your posture is terrible. Is that how you butter toast? How lazy?" Every criticism felt like a blade. Then she got pregnant. "Pregnant?" Lillian said when Serena finally told her, not even looking up. "Did you think a pregnancy would make you family? A grandchild from you is not the blessing you think it is. In fact, this complicates things significantly." That's when Serena should have left. But she still loved Thomas. She still believed that once their baby arrived, everything would change. She was naive. The abuse intensified. Lillian hosted elaborate dinner parties, business associates, church members, society ladies. Serena prepared everything, cooked the meals, set the tables, arranged the flowers. But when guests arrived, she had to disappear. "You can't be seen looking like that," Lillian would say, eyeing Serena's growing belly with disgust. "What will people think?" One evening, preparing dinner for Pastor James, Judge Patterson, and Thomas's colleagues, Serena heard Lillian through the kitchen door. "Thomas's wife couldn't be here tonight. She's not feeling well. Pregnancy can be so difficult for some women." Lillian was painting her as weak, problematic, while Serena stood 5 feet away, having just prepared the meal they were enjoying. That's when Serena started her notebook, documenting everything. But she didn't just document the abuse. She also documented her medical appointments. She'd been having complications, high blood pressure, trembling hands, irregular heartbeat. Dr. Marcus Williams kept asking about her home life, her stress levels, whether she felt safe. At first she lied, but 5 months in she broke down completely in his office. "I can't keep pretending," she sobbed. "My husband won't speak to me. His mother treats me like nothing. I wake up every morning terrified." Dr. Williams set down his clipboard, his expression gentle but serious. "Serena, what you're describing is abuse, emotional abuse, and it's affecting your health and your baby's health. Your blood pressure is dangerously high. If this continues, you could develop preeclampsia, which could kill you both." "What can I do?" she whispered. "I have nowhere to go." "Yes, you do," he said firmly. "You have your father's company. Serena, do you know who owns Green Tech now that your father is gone?" She blinked. "I assumed it went to the board, or maybe Thomas manages it." Dr. Williams shook his head slowly. "You need to look at your father's will. Contact his lawyers, because unless I'm mistaken, your father left everything to you." That's when everything changed. Serena spent 2 weeks quietly investigating. She contacted her father's lawyers, requesting copies of everything: the will, trust documents, ownership papers. What she discovered was life-altering. Her father had left Green Tech Solutions entirely to her, protected even from a spouse. The company was worth over $80 million, with contracts spanning the United States, Europe, and Africa. The Blake family's entire business model, their expansion, their partnerships, their celebrated contracts, all depended on manufacturing agreements with Green Tech Solutions, agreements she controlled. They'd been using her father's company to build their empire, taking credit for deals that existed only because of her inheritance, and they had no idea she owned it all. She told Dr. Williams everything: the abuse, Lillian's plan, Thomas's affair with Julia that she'd overheard one night. "Document everything," he advised. "Every medical complication connected to stress, because when the time comes, you'll need proof." For 2 more months, she gathered evidence: recordings, emails, photos of her servant's room, text messages discussing Thomas's exit strategy, and Dr. Williams documented every stress-induced medical complication. 3 weeks ago, Lillian had summoned Serena to her study. "We're hosting a family dinner Friday," she announced, without looking up. "Pastor James, Judge Patterson, Thomas's key colleagues. You'll prepare the meal and attend." Serena's blood ran cold. "You want me at the dinner?" "It's time we addressed your marriage, publicly, with witnesses. Thomas wants a divorce. You'll sign the papers, accept a settlement, and leave quietly." "And if I refuse?" Lillian's smile was ice. "Then we'll prove your mental instability. By the time we're finished, you won't get custody or a single penny beyond what we offer." That night, Serena called Dr. Williams and her lawyers. "Do you want me there?" Dr. Williams asked. Yes. Bring every page of medical documentation, because when Lillian tries to paint me as unstable, I want you to tell them the truth. Friday evening arrived. Serena dressed in an emerald green maternity dress she'd hidden away. Did her hair, put on her mother's jewelry. The woman in the mirror looked strong. Ready. By 7 p.m., the dining room was filled. Pastor James and his wife, Judge Patterson, Thomas's colleagues, Julia seated possessively beside Thomas, and Dr. Williams, who Lillian believed would validate her claims about Serena's instability. She had no idea what he was really there to do. Serena served the perfect meal she'd prepared, then took her seat at the far end of the table. For an hour, everything remained civil. Then, as dessert was served, Lillian struck. "We need to address a difficult matter," she announced. "Thomas and Serena's marriage has been troubled. Serena's behavior has been erratic, unstable." She slid divorce papers across the polished wood. $50,000 in medical coverage. Sign these, agree to limited custody, leave peacefully. And if I refuse, we'll present evidence of your mental instability to the court. Thomas spoke for the first time. "Just sign the papers, Serena. This marriage was a mistake." Serena looked at him and felt only pity. "You're right," she said quietly, "but not for the reasons you think." She turned to Pastor James. "Before I respond, I'd like Dr. Williams to share something relevant." Judge Patterson nodded. "Medical evidence is absolutely relevant in custody discussions." Dr. Williams stood, file in hand. That's when he detonated the bomb that would destroy them all. "Mrs. Blake," Dr. Williams said, looking directly at Lillian, "I have 7 months of documented evidence proving everything you just said is a lie." He spread papers across the table. "Mrs. Serena Blake has suffered dangerously high blood pressure throughout her entire pregnancy. So high she's been at constant risk of preeclampsia, which could kill both her and the baby. She's experienced severe anxiety, irregular heartbeat, premature contractions, stress-induced complications requiring weekly monitoring." Pastor James leaned forward, concern etched on his face. "What exactly are you saying, Doctor?" "I'm saying every single medical complication has been directly caused by severe emotional abuse in this household." Dr. Williams' voice was steel. "I have documented evidence of verbal abuse, isolation, forced labor, deliberate humiliation. I have Mrs. Blake's recorded testimony from medical appointments where she broke down describing her treatment. And I have medical proof this abuse has endangered both their lives." Lillian's face flushed crimson. "This is absurd. I've done nothing but—" "You locked her in a servant's room the day after her wedding," Dr. Williams interrupted. "You forced her to perform manual labor while 7 months pregnant. You isolated her from everyone. You humiliated her before guests. You allowed your son to conduct an affair with another woman under this roof while his pregnant wife served them dinner." Julia's face went ashen. Gasps rippled around the table. "As her physician," Dr. Williams continued, "I am legally obligated to report abuse endangering a patient's life, and I am legally obligated to testify in any custody hearing that Mrs. Blake is the victim, not the perpetrator." He turned to Judge Patterson. "Your Honor, I'm formally submitting this medical documentation as evidence. Based on my professional assessment, Mrs. Serena Blake should receive full custody, with supervised visitation for Mr. Blake only after completing mandatory counseling for perpetrators of emotional abuse." The room erupted. Thomas shouted. Lillian threatened legal action. But Serena sat perfectly still, hands resting protectively on her belly, waiting for the chaos to settle. Finally, Judge Patterson stood, commanding immediate silence. "Enough." His voice carried absolute authority. "Dr. Williams, I will accept your documentation. Mrs. Lillian Blake, you need to understand something. What you've described as helping could easily be prosecuted as domestic abuse. Emotional abuse is every bit as illegal and dangerous as physical abuse. He fixed his gaze on Thomas. Mr. Blake, the way you've allowed your wife to be treated makes you equally culpable. If Mrs. Blake pursues full custody based on tonight's testimony, she will receive it. Serena finally spoke, her voice calm and clear. I'm not signing your papers, but I will file for divorce, on my terms. And before anyone threatens me with lawyers or custody battles, there's something else you need to know. She pulled out her own folder, prepared by her father's attorneys. My father left GreenTech Solutions to me when he died. Not to Thomas, not to Blake Industries. To me, in an irrevocable trust only I control. Thomas's expression shifted as understanding dawned like ice water. GreenTech Solutions is worth $82 million, she continued. It holds patents for renewable technology components used by every major energy company in this country. It supplies medical equipment to hospitals across 3 continents, and every single contract Blake Industries has signed, including the European deal you're celebrating tonight, depends entirely on manufacturing agreements with GreenTech. She looked directly at Lillian. Agreements I control. Agreements I can cancel at any time. The silence was absolute, suffocating. You thought you married your son to a fortune. You did. But you never bothered checking who controlled it. You assumed that because I was quiet, obedient, pregnant, isolated, I'd handed everything over to you. She stood slowly, deliberately. I've spent 7 months invisible in this house. 7 months treated like a servant. 7 months watching my husband's affair while his mother called me worthless. And the entire time, I owned the empire you were building. Thomas found his voice. Serena, you can't just... Cancel your contracts? She finished. I can, and I will. Blake Industries built its reputation on resources you don't actually own. You've been signing deals using my father's innovations, my inheritance, to make yourselves appear successful. She turned to the European businessman. Gentlemen, as of tonight, GreenTech Solutions is withdrawing from all Blake Industries partnerships. Every contract is void. However, she placed business cards on the table. If you'd like to discuss partnering directly with GreenTech, my team would be delighted to meet with you next week. One businessman slowly took the card. His expression equal parts shock and respect. You've been planning this, Lillian whispered, her voice trembling with rage. No, Serena corrected. I've been surviving, documenting abuse while you planned my destruction, gathering evidence while you signed contracts with my company, protecting my baby while you painted me as unfit. And tonight, before all these witnesses, I'm taking back everything you tried to steal from me. Pastor James cleared his throat, breaking the heavy silence. Serena, I owe you an apology. When Lillian invited me tonight, she led me to believe I was mediating a mutual separation. What I've witnessed instead is a pattern of abuse that should have been stopped long ago. His wife nodded firmly. If the church can support you during this transition, please let us know. Serena smiled, genuinely grateful. Thank you, Pastor. Your support means everything. Lillian made one desperate final attempt. You think you can just walk away? I have lawyers who will discover every document I possess, Serena interrupted calmly. Every recording, text message, witness statement, medical report. Everyone here heard Dr. Williams' testimony. Everyone heard about the abuse. If you try to fight me, I'll ensure everyone knows exactly what kind of people you are. Judge Patterson nodded. Mrs. Blake, based on tonight's testimony, you have more than sufficient grounds for divorce and full custody. I strongly recommend contacting a family law attorney immediately. My lawyers are filing papers Monday morning, she said. She turned to Thomas one final time. I loved you. I believed we were building a life together. But you let your mother destroy me. You participated in my humiliation. You conducted an affair in our home while I carried your child. You tried forcing me out with $50,000 and limited custody." She placed her hand on her belly, feeling her daughter move. "You don't deserve to be her father. But I'm not cruel like your family. If you complete counseling and prove you can be decent, you can have supervised visits. But you will never control her. Never control me. And never use my father's legacy to build your empire again." Serena picked up her purse and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" Lillian demanded. "Home," she said simply. "My real home. The apartment my lawyers secured last week. The one Blake Industries knows nothing about. Where I'll raise my daughter far from this toxic family." She paused at the threshold, looking back one final time. "You wanted me to disappear, Lillian. Consider your wish granted. But I'm not disappearing because you broke me. I'm disappearing because I choose to, and I'm taking everything that's mine with me." That was 3 months ago. Now Serena sits in her apartment, watching her baby girl Grace sleep peacefully beside her. 6 weeks old, healthy and perfect. The Blake empire collapsed within a month. Without GreenTech's contracts, Blake Industries couldn't fulfill their agreements. Thomas sold the mansion to cover debts. Lillian moved into a small condo. Her social circle evaporated after word spread. Thomas is in therapy. He calls weekly about Grace. So far, Serena has refused. Maybe someday, when Grace is old enough to decide for herself. GreenTech is thriving. The European investors signed directly with Serena, expanding her contracts by $40 million. She started a foundation for pregnant women escaping abusive relationships. She wakes every morning in peace, not fear. Dr. Williams checks on her regularly. "Your blood pressure is perfect now. You and Grace are completely healthy." "Because I'm finally free," she tells him. He smiles. "Because you were always strong enough to free yourself. You just needed the right moment to show everyone." People ask if Serena regrets exposing the Blakes, if it was too harsh, too public. She tells them this. She spent 7 months invisible, abused, treated like nothing while carrying their grandchild. They planned her humiliation before witnesses. They tried stealing her baby and her inheritance. She didn't destroy them. She simply stopped letting them destroy her. Sometimes, the only way to be seen is to stop being quiet. Sometimes, the only way to protect yourself is to expose the truth. And sometimes, the people who underestimate you most are the ones who need to learn that lesson hardest. Serena Hale is a mother, a CEO, and a survivor. She's no longer invisible. She's just getting started. If you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever been underestimated, remember this. Your quiet doesn't make you weak. Your patience doesn't make you powerless. And the people who underestimate you? They're the ones who should be afraid. Because quiet people aren't weak. They're just waiting for the right moment to show the world exactly who they are. Have you experienced something like this? What would you do in Serena's position? Let us know in the comments. And if this story resonated with you, share it. Sometimes, the most powerful thing we can do is remind each other that we're stronger than anyone realizes. God bless you all, and remember, you are never as powerless as someone wants you to believe.